Welcome to the Rooted in Health and Wellness podcast with your host, Heather Harris. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 19, where today we're going to talk about holiday weight gain. And hopefully, I'm going to be able to help you or give you some tips on, on how to not gain weight over the holidays. It's always interesting to me because I have so many clients that will just say to me, well, Heather, Thanksgiving is coming up, and they'll literally leave it at that. Or, well, Christmas is coming, as if because it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, I'm going to eat all the food. And so I'm not going to track, I'm not going to journal, I'm not going to, I'm going to just throw caution to the wind and I'm going to gain weight. In fact, I was reading a really interesting poll that I'm actually going to pull up here because it was done on 2,000 Americans. So a small number, but an interesting poll nevertheless. And I have a feeling it very much reflects, the majority of the country, but it was on 2,000 Americans. And it said that 72% of 2,000 Americans surveyed this year want to make the most of the rest of 2023, regardless of what that means for their diet, compared to 54% in last year's survey. They talked about that over the holidays, an average amount of weight that people gain is 8 pounds. I thought that was very interesting. The poll goes on to talk about that 50% of respondents admit to having eaten so much during the end of year season that they've had to undo a button on their pants or loosen a belt. And 35% have eaten so much that they felt sick or so full that they were going to burst. That blows my mind, to be honest. It really blows my mind that we put our bodies, we put ourselves, I guess, in that kind of situation. So it goes on. Then the poll talks about that that 2/3 or 66% of the respondents use the end of the year to postpone being healthy, a 24% increase from the previous year when they did this same poll. So 66% of these Americans they postpone being healthy, to the new year, which we know, and this is going to go on to talk about, we know that in the new year, it's a big time for New Year's resolutions. And let me tell you, I am all for a new year, a fresh start. I love it. I love everything about having a new year. I am a goal setter. I've talked about this in previous podcasts. I am someone that makes a whole list of goals each year. And then at the end of the year, I kind of reflect on what goals I met and what ones I continue to need to work on for the next year. But a goal that's set without a plan, and again, look back at some of my previous podcasts where I've talked about this, a goal without a plan is not going to lead to success. And so you really have to, make those goals, but then also make a plan, put a plan into place that's going to help you succeed on those goals. But what I thought, again, was interesting is that 72% of respondents admit to having broken a diet at the end of the year. For 48% of those, it was due to the temptation of holiday food. When it comes to gaining weight, 78% of respondents admit they gained weight last year, and 38% are still carrying some of those extra holiday pounds from 2022. So that's where this happens, and especially as we get older, our metabolism is changing, everything's kind of changing. And if we continue to put on this weight, it makes it harder and harder to get it off. And, as this poll even says, they've gained weight and they're still trying to lose weight from, 2 years ago. So from weight that they've put on over the holidays. So I'm hoping that I can help you and give you some tips today to not think that you have to put on weight over the holidays, that it's not just a given that you're going to put on weight. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I wanted to also mention this in the poll, that despite leaning into temptation at the end of the year, 68% of respondents are confident that they'll have healthy habits in the new year. And it'll take an average of about 19 days to get back on track with their healthy habits or to start new ones. as part of this, 47% are planning to make a New Year's resolution for 2024. And this compared to 32% who plan to make a resolution for 2023. So it sounds like the percentage of New Year's resolutions has gone up for this coming year. For 2024, the top resolutions are, and these are probably no surprise because they're usually for most people, they start their year off this way. But top resolutions are eating healthier, which 68% of those polled were wanting to eat healthier. 66% exercise more. 56% get more sleep. And these were followed then by 54% on just self-care and 53% on saving money. So I don't know if this should get me excited, because this is what I do, but at the same time, I see this pattern happen every year where these goals of eating healthier, exercising more, and then sleeping more, all the things that I talk about, are New Year's resolutions. People go into the New Year's, wanting to do these things, but they don't again make that plan. And so then by February or March, their exercise is, or their diet or whatever is gone out the window. And a lot of times it's because they jumped into something like, I'm going to do this diet, which is really restrictive, or I'm going to start exercising. They think they have to go into it 5 or 6 days a week when they weren't exercising at all. And then they can't sustain that. And so then they don't stick with it. And so, guys, I'm telling you, that's what I'm here for. That's what I want to help you with, is I want you to make the goals. I want to help you make a plan, and I want to help you stick with it. I almost feel like a politician right now, the way that I'm doing this, and that's not at all the way I am. But I do. I want to make you, I want to help you to sustain your goals, to make the goals, but to sustain them, make a plan and continue on with them and be successful, be healthy. This is where I feel like it all starts, is with your mindset. This is why, if you go back to my previous podcasts, my first 3 were just kind of about my story. But after that, I started off talking about mindset, your mindset, your emotions, um, stress, anxiety, all of that. Mindset, though, is so huge. And so I encourage you to go back and listen to those podcasts, because it all starts up here. If we go into the holidays, and I'm going to give you an example of kind of the way I go into it, and maybe that will help you out too. But I go into the holidays with a mindset just like every other day, honestly, for me. First of all, I'm going to say that it really is. It's just like any other day to me. I don't look at it as like this day to indulge and that I'm going to eat all the food. And I don't look at it that way. I look at it as another day. I look at it as a day to spend time with my family and be grateful, truly be grateful for what I have, I enjoy giving the gifts at Christmas time. I enjoy watching my kids open them up and their excitement. That's what it's about to me. That's what it's about. It's about doing all the fun Christmas events and going to church. And those are the kind of things that I try to focus on. And that's my mindset. I think too, I have a mindset that for me, healthy food can be indulgent. Healthy food can be satisfying. Healthy food can be enough. I don't need all those extra things, because that's, again, I've instilled and worked on that mindset. Now, I also have a mindset that I could eat whatever I want. This is called working on food freedom, which is really hard for people. But I have a mindset that I could eat whatever I want. It's that I choose to eat certain foods. I choose to eat the healthier foods. I may choose to have something that's maybe more unhealthy or indulgent once in a while. I may choose that. And if I do, that's fine, and I don't make myself feel guilty about it. But for the most part, 80 to 90% of the time, I choose to make healthier food choices. And the reason why is because I know how it makes me feel. At 54, I've had my share of health issues. I've had my share of digestive problems. I've worked at those, I've healed them, and I feel so good today. Even in the past few months when I kind of went through some things, I worked at it, I changed things up again, and I feel great. And so I want to feel like that all the time. Again, it goes back to me of knowing my why. I have a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I also have an aging mother who I'm taking care of. I want to be the healthiest, the best, the most vibrant, the most energetic person that I can be for them. And so for that, that means to me feeding my body healthy, nutrient dense foods and moving my body and getting enough sleep and doing all the things to help me work through stress and anxiety and stuff, even over the holidays. Because as we know, going into the holidays can be stressful, it can be anxious, it can make us anxious, I should say. But I have that mindset that I'm going to, not look at things as deprivation. Oh, I can't have that. I can't have that. Immediately when you say that, you're already setting yourself up like, well, I can't have that. That's already a negative thought, an affirmation that I can't have something. I say I can have it. I just choose not to. I could have pumpkin pie. I could have some cookies, but I choose not to because I know the way I'll feel after I eat them. I know how sensitive to my body is to foods, especially because I eat mostly a healthy diet. So I know how they're going to make me feel. I don't want to ever feel overly full and like I have to unbutton my pants and kind of feel sick to my stomach. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to have digestive problems and be bloated and gassy and have acid reflux or indigestion or nausea. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to wake up the next day feeling like I'm hungover from the food that I've eaten or alcohol. I don't want to feel that way. I want to wake up and feel good. And that means more to me than a cookie. Feeling good, being healthy, like those things mean more to me than any cookie or any pie or any, you know, marshmallow sweet potatoes or, anything like that. That's because I want to feel good. Now, again, no shade that if you want to indulge a little bit, I'm not saying that you can't. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I want to encourage you to work on a mindset, again, that healthy food can be enough. Healthy food can be indulgent. Healthy food can be satisfying. I I think that really starts your day off, your week off, your month, these holiday season as, I really think that's helpful in not looking at it as deprivation. Don't let the food pushers, because you probably all know of people in your life, that are going to push food on you. I had someone like that in my life for a long time who would make me feel guilty that I wasn't eating her cooking or, that it would make fun of me for not eating the pies and the cookies. And that's so astonishing to me. It's so amazing to me. And most of the time when people do that, it's because really they know that they probably shouldn't be eating all those things and they are, and they feel guilty about it, and they want to make you feel bad about not eating it. But don't let those people push you into eating things. Don't, I get all the time, again, clients saying, well, my mom made it, so I felt like I had to eat it, or my grandmother made it, I felt like I had to eat it. I don't want to be rude. I, I I guess I understand it, but yet it's also like, yet I guess I don't understand. I don't know. I feel like, I guess I've always just been that person that I've stood up and said, oh, no, I don't want any of that. Thank you. It looks great, but thank you. I'm just going to have this. And I'm not worried about it. I guess I don't worry about what people think about that. Like if they have a problem with that, really, that's their problem. It's nothing to do with you. Um, and I don't feel the need to explain, but you can explain, well, listen, I'm really trying to eat healthier. I'm trying to be healthier. I'm trying to, and so I'm just going to have this, or I don't know. I guess I just don't think that that should be something that makes you, I don't think we should live out of guilt or feeling, you know what I mean? Or again, worried about what others think if we're not eating something. That should be, um, again, if here's my thought again too on it is if someone really loves you, they want what's best for you and they want you to be healthy, right? Isn't that right? Like when you want someone to be healthy. And so necessarily like saying, well, you got to eat this or push, trying to push food that maybe isn't the healthiest on you. Is that, like, I don't know. That doesn't seem to add up to me. Again, if you love someone, you want them to be healthy. And so trying to push unhealthy food on someone, that doesn't seem so healthy. I don't know. What do you think? That's just my 2 cents on that. But it all starts with mindset, okay? I don't think that, I will say, I don't think that if you are not kind of watching what you eat now and not exercising, no, it's probably not the best time to start a diet now either. I'm going to say that. I don't think it is probably the best time to start a diet. I think, as much as I don't think that you need to just start on January 1st and you can start anytime and you can work at it anytime and it should be a lifestyle thing. No, probably starting right now is not the best time either. You're probably right. But maybe you just start making little changes, as far as going into the holidays. Like I said, that mindset, and maybe starting to make little changes about what you eat. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about. One thing is make sure you're drinking lots of water. Make sure that you're staying hydrated. It's super important, I think, is that a lot of times people mistake hunger cues for actually just being thirsty and needing more water. And so drinking lots of water to keep yourself hydrated and also to keep yourself kind of full. And the other thing I want to say is not changing your normal routine. So not saying I'm not going to eat until, let's say for example, Thanksgiving, that's coming up here soon next week. And so think about, instead of like, oh, I'm just going to skip breakfast and I'm not going to eat, maybe you eat, your big meal around noon or something, a big Thanksgiving meal. I don't think that's a good idea either. I don't think it's good to skip. In fact, I think it's important that you eat a good breakfast and that you make that breakfast protein forward. You maybe not have to eat, early, but maybe eat, even like, I tend to eat breakfast around 10 o'clock. So that you're not going into that meal super hungry and like just wanting to binge and eat everything. I mean, do you find that? I get a lot of people, even just in every day, that they like will skip breakfast and then maybe eat a light lunch, but then they get home and man, it's on. Like, they're in the pantry, they're in the refrigerator, and they are, eating all the food and they're eating, right up until the time you go to bed. I think it's important to actually start your day with a good breakfast that you trying to focus on protein, maybe trying to get around 30 grams, and I'm just averaging here, but around 30 grams at that meal, making some eggs, maybe some eggs and sausage, or, throw in some veggies there. Um, I think that would actually help you to not overindulge in your big Thanksgiving or Christmas meal by starting your day off right. I think it's also, if you can squeeze in a little weight training, again, even if you're at home and you're gonna, and do some squats, maybe some lunges, some push-ups, if you can do some pull-ups somewhere, or, some kind of back exercise, any kind of compound movements that I've talked about in previous podcasts that you don't even need equipment. Those ones I just mentioned, you don't even need equipment for. But if you can throw in some strength training like that, if you can add weights, that's great. But even if you added, if you didn't have a lot of time, but you did like 15, 20 minutes of some strength training exercises, that is going to be so helpful for, um, obviously, you're building muscle and stuff. But if you can do that before your main meal, that's actually going to help with the glucose uptake from the meal into your muscles. So it's really going to help you to shuttle that glucose, because a lot of times people tend to eat more sugar and carbs over, the holidays and over their big Thanksgiving and Christmas meals. but it's going to help take that glucose and shove it into and put it into the muscles more and actually help you to grow your muscles. So it would be an excellent thing if you can do that. The other thing to do though is if you can't, if you don't work out and do a few strength training exercises before your meal, try to get on some walking after your meal. Extremely important for, again, glucose. Very important. That helps to that glucose to bring that blood sugar down. Actually, research has shown that even a 10 to 15-minute walk after a meal can help bring that blood sugar down by 33%. So super easy to do. Something that I've really worked out with my family over the years is we kind of started a tradition of getting out and walking. In fact, I will get my kids involved in doing some weights with me before working out, doing some squats, doing some push ups. We've made it kind of a fun, routine. And then we will go out and take a nice walk after our meal. And so sandwiching that big meal with those kind of things will really help blunt any fat or weight gain. So, and I think it's also really a great way to get your family involved. If you have a lot of family coming in, like start to say, like, hey, let's start walking afterwards, or let's do a little bit of weight training beforehand. Let's come down into my basement, and do a few exercises. Like that is again creating like a healthy environment, and making a healthy environment around the holidays. And I think that's great for everybody. It's a win-win for everybody. Remember, bettering your health has no drawbacks. It has no downsides. Anything you can do to better your health is only going to help you be successful in your own health, but in your relationships with everybody else in your workplace. So I think it's super wonderful if you can make this more of a family or friends kind of event as well. And then when it comes to that, main meal, when you go to get your main meal, and I know usually, there's a boatload of different foods that are out there. Again, try to go for that protein first. Fill up on the protein rich foods. Maybe it's turkey, ham. Maybe you have appetizers like a charcuterie board where there's different meats and cheeses, or olives, nuts, and seeds. All those things are protein and healthy fats. Try to fill up on those kind of things first. And that will really help you to feel fuller and not have a lot of room for the other things. And then once you've kind of filled up on the protein, also look at your fiber rich foods. Any roasted vegetables. I do a big thing of roasted vegetables every year. And so it's very easy, to fill up on that. And, if you, go for those kind of things first and try to fill up on those so that you don't have a lot of room for the other, more unhealthy or sweeter indulgences. But another thing, I want you to think about is bringing your own dishes to, if you're not having Thanksgiving or Christmas at your house and you can't control everything, maybe you bring some healthy dishes that you can share with other people. And you never know, they may end up, really figuring, wow, or asking you for that recipe. That happens to me all of the time. I will bring dishes that, are just healthier versions of other things like sweet, instead of sweet potatoes with brown sugar and marshmallows, I just do regular roasted sweet potatoes. And it's amazing how people don't necessarily miss the brown sugar and marshmallows. Roasted sweet potatoes also taste very sweet and caramelize, when they're done in olive oil. And so I'll bring dishes. I've done a pumpkin pie without the crust, crustless pumpkin pie before. So just to cut down, on a lot of those sugars and carbs. And so I have brought those to a lot of family events, and I get all the time people ask me then for the recipes. So I think don't be afraid to bring things that that maybe will help you to, partake in the food and make you feel more comfortable, and things that were going to be healthy and benefit you, but they will also, if other people try them, it can benefit them as well. So I think that's really a good thing too. Try not to drink your calories. I know this is a time where you want to, have a few drinks and relax, but I would say if you really can, those are empty calories. Alcohol is a toxin. I hate to say it, but it is. So, it's going to blunt your fat loss. No doubt about it. Alcohol will blunt fat loss. So try to really, not drink your calories. Maybe drink, if you're going to drink less, maybe go for like a dry wine. That's going to probably be your best bet. And again, stick to like one glass and just kind of sip on it throughout the day or evening. Now, for those of you that are like, Heather, I look forward to, the pumpkin pie. I look forward, to the Christmas cookies, or I look forward to a certain stuffing or, whatever it is. Then what I would say is try it again, do those other things, fill up on protein first, maybe and then fill up on, vegetables and your fiber rich foods. But then pick 1 to 2 things that you are like, I just have to have. I'll tell you something. My grandmother, she's passed away now, but it was my dad's mom. She used to make red velvet cake every Christmas. It was so special. It was just a special thing that I remember about, growing up. There is nothing healthy about red velvet cake. It is completely purely sugar, but I would have a small slice of it because it was the one time of year that I would have that. And I enjoyed it and I loved it. And it reminded me of my grandmother. And so I don't think it's horrible, to have a Christmas cookie or the red velvet cake or, something that you don't have normally day to day. It's fine. But like I said, maybe stick to 1 to 2 things that you're going to pick and just have a small portion of them. Make your portions smaller. Be happy with that smaller portion. Eat it slowly. That's another just great tip overall is as you're eating your meal, make your plate and then eat it slowly. Talk to your family and friends, you know, in and savor every bite of the food that you're eating. Because truly, if you eat slowly, it's amazing how much quicker you will fill up and won't need as much to eat. You're chewing your food, you're savoring the bites, each bite. Enjoy that red velvet cake, enjoy that cookie then. Eat a smaller portion, but enjoy it and move on. Move on then after the meal. And don't make yourself feel guilty about it. Choose the 1 or 2 things, have it, and then don't feel guilty about it. Really focus on spending time with your family and being grateful for that time. Like I said, I think that is what the holidays should be all about. Why do we make it all about food all the time? I mean, yes, again, there can be some great memories, like I said, with the red velvet cake and my grandmother. There can be those great memories. And again, you can have a little bit of it, but just think about the way you want to feel truly, how you want to feel, and then work on not overindulging. Again, planning ahead, being mindful of what you're eating, enjoying each bite, choosing wisely, lean proteins, vegetables, limit your intake of high calorie, sugar, and fatty foods, stay hydrated, bring your own dish, portion control. I'm just going back over my notes to remember and that I make sure I went over everything and kind of summarize. Be selective of your treats. We talked about that. Allow yourself to indulge a bit, but in moderation. Choose 1 or 2 things. Stay active. Just try to get out and walk. Maybe throw in some squats, some lunges, some push-ups, that kind of thing. And then again, if you do end up indulging more than planned, just try not to be too hard on yourself. That's not going to help anything either. Don't beat yourself up about, again, don't feel guilty about it. You can have food freedom. I have come from a place where I feared food a lot of times and had a lot of just, bad feelings about food. Or if I ate that, I'd feel bad. Or if I, ate too much of that, I'd feel bad. And I've really gotten to a place in my life where I'm super thankful that I've gotten to this place of food freedom because I look at it differently. I've changed my mindset about it. I look at it again, as I said in the beginning, of I can have any food that I want. It's just I choose to eat certain foods and not other foods because I know those foods and the way they make me feel. And I'm going to be going into a whole podcast of how I've gotten to the place I am at, and how, like, for some people they can think, like, if they looked at my diet they'd be like, wow, that's restrictive. But yet I know what foods work for my body and make me feel good. I've done a lot of testing, and I know what makes me feel good and what doesn't. And so again, I choose to not have those foods in my diet that make me feel bad. Does that make sense? Like, why would we have foods in our diet that don't make us feel good? And so for me, I know those foods now, and because I feel so good and I have so much energy and such clear thinking, I don't want to go back. And so for me, my diet is not restrictive at all. It's actually freeing because I don't have to think twice about what I'm going to eat. I know what works for me. And that's just where I want everybody to be and get to. But again, it goes back to that mindset. And like I said, if you overindulge, don't be hard on yourself. Acknowledge it and move on, really. And just try to make healthier choices as you move forward. So I hope that these tips have been helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below. I would really appreciate you if you would subscribe or follow me. Follow me on Apple or Spotify. Subscribe on my YouTube channel, and just continue to, look for my videos. You can hit the notifications bell, which will always notify you of videos. I just found out that I have now had 750 downloads of my podcast, which is amazing to me. 750 downloads is amazing to me. Like, I'm just shocked that I've had 750 people listen, not people, but downloads of the podcast or different podcasts listened to. So that is pretty cool to me. And I want to continue to grow the community. I want to get, again, sound information out there. And I really do want to help people succeed. And so if you need any help, especially during the holiday seasons, or if one of your goals is to eat better or exercise, please reach out to me. I always leave my information in the description box below. I'd love to help you on your journey, especially starting in the new year. And I will be doing the next podcast will be all about my gift guide that I told you about in the last one. I have a really long list of great gifts that are like under $50, and then $50 to $100, and then over $100. And so I really hope you will tune in for that one. That's going to be gifts all for kind of the health enthusiast, or maybe you have someone that really is wanting to be healthier again in that new year, and you can help them start it off right with some of these things. So tune in for that. I will be doing then one on kind of New Year's resolutions and goals and how to get started for the new year. So I really hope that you continue to be here with me. Again, I'm on this journey with you all as well. I'm looking always to be healthier physically and mentally and spiritually. So please, again, I'd love for you to subscribe so we can grow the community. And thank you again for joining me today. I wish you all the best of for Thanksgiving and for the holidays. But I will be seeing you soon. Take care. Bye bye.